Adrian Cole thought the matching algorithm was the universe's best punchline, until the woman it assigned him walked into Bay 7 wearing formal armor, a sword at her hip, and an expression that said she could end him politely if required. Adrian Cole had always believed in numbers more than fate. Numbers made sense. Numbers followed rules. Numbers did not wake up one day and decide to ruin your life for entertainment. But for the last month, the station's matching program had felt like a cruel game designed just for him. He stood at the observation deck, staring out through the wide glass. New Geneva Station curved like a shining wheel in space, bright and busy, full of people who looked like they belonged to a better story than his. The lights on the outer ring blinked softly. Cargo ships drifted in and out like slow fish. Everything looked calm and perfect from up here. Adrian hated that. Down in the habitat rings, people were celebrating. People were laughing. People were getting paired with someone who fit them like the last piece of a puzzle. Marcus, Adrian's friend, had been matched with a Valoran partner who loved Earth food. Marcus had told Adrian, smiling like an idiot, that his partner thought pasta was beautifully primitive. Marcus said it like it was the most romantic thing anyone had ever heard. Sarah from engineering was learning watercolor painting with her Quillen mash. The Quillen had 4 arms and endless patience, which Adrian felt was basically cheating. Even Jenkins had a match. Jenkins collected model starships and could talk for an hour without breathing. Adrian used to think Jenkins would die alone with a screwdriver in his hand. But no. Jenkins had been paired with a gentle Myrai who found his obsessive lists charmingly detailed. Adrian had attended their ceremonies. He had clapped at the right moments. He had bought polite gifts. He had made polite toasts. He had smiled until his cheeks hurt. And all the while he had been thinking the same thing. Why not me? His own matching process had taken 6 weeks longer than normal. The staff had called it extra processing. Adrian called it the universe hesitating. He kept telling himself it meant he was complicated, unique, rare. Deep down, he suspected it meant he was just a problem the system had trouble solving. A voice cut through his thoughts. Technician Cole. Adrian turned. Administrator Yuki Tanaka stood behind him. Her expression was careful, like she was about to deliver bad news that had been wrapped in nice paper. Your match has arrived, she said. Adrian blinked. Arrived. Just now. Just. Base 7. Please don't keep her waiting. Adrian's stomach tightened. He set down his coffee bowl and watched the liquid wobble in the station's artificial gravity. He tried to joke, because joking was what he did when fear grabbed his throat. I assume she likes long walks through recycled air and men who panic silently. Tanaka gave him a thin smile. Base 7, Technician Cole. That was all. Adrian took a slow breath and left the observation deck. The walk through the station's central spoke was meant to calm people down. Soft bioluminescent panels pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. The air smelled faintly of vanilla. The designers called it aromatherapy. Everyone else called it that weird sweet smell. Adrian had walked this hallway many times for work. He worked in xenobiology labs, where he studied life that didn't belong to Earth. He knew how to handle samples that could melt metal. He knew how to follow safety rules so strict they felt like prayers. But this was different. Today he wasn't a technician. Today he was the experiment. He had filled out all the surveys. He had answered questions about his habits, fears, hopes, and the things he did when no one was watching. He had sat through neural mapping sessions that made his teeth ache. He had been honest about his love of old Earth music. He had been honest about his bad sleep schedule. He had even admitted he made jokes when he was scared. The system was supposed to be 97% accurate. Governments trusted it. Empires protected it. Entire fleets had been moved because of it. So Adrian tried to believe it. Bay 7's door opened with a hydraulic hiss that sounded almost annoyed. Inside, someone stood in the arrival zone. Adrian stopped so suddenly his shoes squeaked on the smooth floor. His first clear thought was simple. This is wrong. The woman was tall. Taller than Adrian by several inches. She stood with perfect posture, like she had been trained from childhood to never look weak. Her skin was not human, not in the exact way. There was something about it, slightly different in tone and texture. Her ears were long and sharp, sweeping back like a blade. Her hair was braided in a complex pattern, tight and clean, like a warrior style. Her eyes were a cold metallic gray. They looked like steel in low light. And then Adrian saw the scar. It ran from her left temple down to her jaw. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't softened. It was displayed like proof. She wore armor. Not heavy battle armor, but dress armor, dark plates with engraved patterns that probably told stories of victories. At her hip hung a weapon. Adrian's brain screamed a simple question. Why does she have a sword? A small dossier popped up on his wrist display, like a cruel joke. Kale Rexthar, 7th Princess of the Thorinth. 7 combat honors. Adrian stared at the name, then back at her face. This was not a comm scientist partner. This was not someone who wanted to learn pasta recipes or paint watercolors. This was someone who looked like she could break him in half and then apologize for the inconvenience. She looked at him without warmth. "You are Adrian Cole," she said. It was not a question. Adrian forced his mouth to work. "Yes, that's me. Adrian Cole. That's both of them." He heard himself and hated himself. He tried again because panic made him talk too much. "You're Kale Rexthar. Prince. Should I call you Princess? Is there a rule? I didn't see anything in the orientation files about royalty, which feels like an important thing to mention, honestly." Her expression did not change. "Kyra is sufficient," she said. "Kyra." She stepped forward. Every movement was controlled, measured, and sharp. Like she was choosing each motion carefully. Like she was trained to never waste energy. "The administrators informed me of our pairing," she said. "I have prepared myself for this obligation." Obligation? Adrian let out a short breath that almost became a laugh. "That's great. Love that energy." He immediately regretted it. Kyra paused, like she was translating not just his words but the emotion behind them. "The partner initiative is not premised on romantic energy," she said. "It is a strategic alliance between our peoples, supported by compatible psychological and biological profiles." "You sound like you're quoting the manual," Adrian said. "I studied the manual extensively." "Of course you did." Adrian rubbed his face. He felt the rough stubble and realized he probably looked like he had been living in the lab. Because he had. He pointed his thumb toward the cargo transport behind him, because he had no idea what else to do. "So, you traveled light?" He turned and saw the containers. Perfectly arranged. Labeled. Balanced. Stacked like a military supply load. Every box looked identical in size and shape. Adrian looked down at his own bag. A worn duffel. A mess of cables. A few books. He suddenly felt like a child next to a general. Kyra followed his gaze. "The cohabitation protocols require we share assigned quarters for 1 standard year," she said. "My effects are prepared." Adrian swallowed. "Great. Yeah. That's great." He forced a smile, hoping it looked friendly and not terrified. "Well," he said, "this is going to be interesting." Kyra's eyes narrowed slightly. "Define interesting." Adrian lifted his hands a little, like he was surrendering. "It's an Earth word," he said. "It means something between, this might be a disaster, and, maybe we won't kill each other." Kyra studied him for a long moment. Then she said, calm and cold, "If I intended to kill you, Technician Cole, you would not be uncertain about it." Adrian blinked. "That's not as comforting as you think." "It was not meant to be comforting," she replied. "It was meant to be accurate." Adrian stared at her. A warrior princess. The sword. A match made by a perfect system. And somehow, deep inside his fear, another thought formed. Maybe the universe wasn't just joking. Maybe it was testing how far a joke could go before it became real. He picked up his duffel bag. "Okay," he said, voice slightly shaking but still trying. "Let's go see our new home." Kyra nodded once, like a mission had begun. And together they walked out of Bay 7, two people who made no sense on paper, stepping into a year that could change everything. The habitat assigned to Adrian and Kyra was supposed to feel welcoming. Instead, it felt like a polite compromise that made nobody fully happy. There were 2 small sleeping rooms, 1 shared living space, a compact food station, and a bathroom clearly designed by a committee that could not agree on anything. The furniture looked clean and neutral, like it was afraid of choosing sides. Adrian had moved in 3 days earlier. In that short time, he had managed to make the space look like a temporary research lab mixed with a lazy student's apartment. Data tablets covered the table. A half-open tool kit sat on the counter. His jacket was thrown over a chair. The music system softly played old Earth synth music that sounded like it came from another century. Kyra stepped inside and stopped. She did not sigh. She did not comment. But Adrian could feel the judgment anyway. She scanned the room slowly, her eyes moving with military precision. Adrian suddenly felt like he was being evaluated for structural weaknesses. You maintain, Kyra paused, an unusual relationship with organization. Adrian winced. That's a nice way of saying I'm messy. I am not attempting politeness, she replied. I am being accurate. Yeah, Adrian muttered. That checks out. Kyra moved to the food station. She picked up the coffee maker like she expected it to explode. This device, she said, appears unstable. It's a coffee maker, Adrian said, walking over quickly. It's supposed to sound like that. Mostly. Look, he said, taking it gently. Coffee is important. It keeps humans functional. I do not require stimulants, Kyra said. My training allows control over my alertness. Of course it does, Adrian sighed. Why wouldn't it? He started the coffee machine. It gurgled loudly like it was fighting for its life. Adrian ignored it. He had survived worse mornings. When he turned back, Kyra was still standing. Not sitting. Not relaxing. Standing perfectly straight in the middle of the room. You know, Adrian said, pointing to the couch, you can sit. Furniture is for sitting. That's its job. I prefer readiness, Kyra replied. Readiness for what? The couch isn't planning an attack. Readiness is habit, she said calmly. Habits ensure survival. Adrian shook his head. That sounds exhausting. It is effective. He took a sip of coffee and immediately regretted it. It tasted like warm regret. So, Adrian said, setting the mug down, we should probably talk about how this living together thing works. Kyra nodded. She reached into her uniform and pulled out a slim data tablet. Adrian had no idea where she kept it. The armor did not look like it had pockets. A schedule appeared in the air between them. Adrian blinked. It was not just a schedule. It was a battle plan disguised as a calendar. Dawn meditation and conditioning, Kyra read. 05:30 to 06:30. Nutritional intake, 0630. Preparation, 0700. Departure. Stop, Adrian said quickly. You lost me at 0530. That is the optimal waking period, Kyra replied. That is illegal, Adrian said. Nothing good happens at 5:30 in the morning. It is efficient. I am not efficient, Adrian said. I am a man who needs sleep or becomes dangerous. Kyra studied him like he was a strange animal. The schedule allows variation, she said. I will not require your participation. That's generous, Adrian admitted. But you're not doing sword practice in the living room at sunrise, right? I will conduct weapon forms in the common space, she said simply. The sleeping quarters are insufficient. Adrian stared. You're telling me I'm going to wake up to battle drills? It is essential training. I am going to die, Adrian whispered. You will not die, Kyra replied. You will adapt. He dropped onto the couch dramatically. This is my life now, he said. Living with a warrior alarm clock. Kyra tilted her head slightly. You exaggerate. It's a survival skill. She moved to the window and looked out at the station's glowing curve. For a moment, she seemed distant, thoughtful. The matching algorithm, Adrian said slowly. Do you think it made a mistake? Kyra did not answer right away. I questioned the pairing, she admitted. I believed it incorrect. Adrian sat up. Really? Same. My superiors informed me that doubt is natural, she continued. A warrior faces uncertainty with discipline. So they told you to deal with it, Adrian said. Essentially. Adrian laughed. He could not help it. Kyra turned toward him, curious. You find this amusing? I find it funny that we're both here thinking the same thing, he said. Everyone else got perfect matches. We got this. He waved around the room. Our situation is statistically valid, Kyra said. Statistically ridiculous, Adrian replied. There was a brief silence. Then Kyra said very carefully, your humor is unusual. That's warrior code for annoying, right? It is warrior code for tolerable. Adrian grinned. I'll take it. He stood and walked toward the table, clearing space. You know, he said, we don't have to follow everything exactly. We can figure this out. Compromise. Compromise, Kyra repeated, testing the word. Yeah, Adrian said. You do your meditation. I do my sleeping. We meet in the middle. Kyra considered this seriously. That is acceptable. Adrian smiled. It felt like a small victory. See, he said. We're already working as a team. Kyra did not smile, but her posture relaxed just a fraction. This partnership, she said quietly, is not what I expected. Same, Adrian admitted. But maybe that's the point. They stood there in their shared space. Messy table, glowing station lights, a schedule that would never fully work, and something shifted. Not comfort, not friendship, but possibility. Kyra looked around the room one more time. This habitat, she said, will require adjustments. Adrian nodded. Yeah. From both of us. She extended her hand. A formal gesture. Adrian blinked, then shook it. Her grip was firm and steady. A functional beginning, Kyra said. Adrian smiled. I'll take functional. And in that moment, two completely different people agreed on one thing. This year was going to be difficult, but it might also be worth it.